All right, here in Brisbane, Peter Badel, mate. A lot of drama this last 24 hours, mate. What is going on here?
A day of chaos for No Limit trying to salvage this card. So Brock Jarvis, we're told, has gone to hospital with a shoulder injury, so he's out of his fight against Ken Aitken, which I was really looking forward to. I thought that was going to be really a real highlight of the card. So he's out, and Ken Aitken now fights Sonny Knight, 4-1, rising star, 22-year-old, good fighter, tough, and they're fighting at a catch weight at 74 kilos. But the big news there is Brock Jarvis. I'm told that he's having surgery on his shoulder. Could have repercussions for the Nikita Tszyu fight, which was due to take place later this year. So let's hope the surgery isn't too invasive and that Brock will be okay and they might be able to push the Nikita Tszyu fight back. But we want to see Brock and Nikita go toe-to-toe eventually. But a real shame, because I was really looking forward to that fight. It was going to be a great matchup, Aitken and Brock Jarvis, but not to be now.
We'll get back to Brock Jarvis in a minute, but taking nothing away from Liam Paro, a tremendous venue here and a good sort of fight for him.
A great fight, and look, historic here at Pat Rafter Arena. I've been here a few times, Macca, and it's a beautiful venue. I've been here for tennis, not for boxing, obviously. This is historic, it's eventful, and I think Liam Paro will make a statement in this fight. It's a beautiful fight for him. I think David Papot can't be underestimated. 30-0-1. Never been stopped in 31 fights. So he's a 12-year pro. He's got pedigree, good mover, not a big puncher, 5 knockouts. So I think Liam gets the job done. Whether he stops him, I don't know. But whether his power transfers to 147 will be the question for Liam Paro. But Papot's a good mover, and I like this fight stylistically. I think it'll go into the deeper rounds.
What are you made of, I guess, the evolution of Liam Paro, and he seems so comfortable here on the big stage on Main Event?
He's a pay-per-view star for me, Macca. I mean, look, he hasn't got the Tszyu name, we know that, but I like he's got a bit of that spunk about him, and he's a good-looking guy, he's confident, but most importantly, he can box as well, and he's got the mongrel, and I love his skill set, Macca. You've seen it yourself. I mean, I think he's got a beautiful left hand, which he uses his lead right hand to set up that straight left, and he's also comes at you at a different angle with his left hook as well. So, I mean, what he did to Jonathan Navarro in June in Cairns, his return home, that was savage. It was brutal. Busted his nose, and then such a great technician as well. Like, one thing about Liam that he does well is he executes game plans brilliantly. He gets instructions from his corner, and he doesn't lose his nerve. Holds his composure really well. And I think at 147, we can see a better version of Liam Paro. I think he can be a 2-division world champion.
What's, I guess, his path there? Fight on the weekend, world title fight. Lewis Crocker and, got Rolly Romero there, Mario Barrios, both with PBC, who No Limit have a good relationship with. What's the sort of path to the top for Liam Paro?
Well, obviously Norman, of course, too, another world champion. So, look, there's some really appetising fights for him. This is a IBF world title eliminator, so if that moves forward, I mean, obviously Lewis Crocker looks like the next opponent. Obviously that win over Paddy Donovan, that was impressive and emphatic. I mean, I thought Donovan would win that fight based on what I saw in the first fight. So the way Crocker fought, though, I think he's beatable. I mean, he's 22-0, never been beaten, but I think Liam Paro's got the skill set and he's got the boxing IQ to beat Crocker. And if he beats, I think that's the next path. Crocker next for a world title, and then if he can get some belts at 147, then it opens the doors for Barrios and unification bouts. So, but I think this is the first important step. Papot, his O could go, and I think it will. I think Paro will get this victory.
Now, back on Brock Jarvis, there was talk of a Nikita Tszyu fight. You broke a story last week that, Michael Zarafa perhaps, had the fight signed and locked away. What's the latest on that?
Well, I know No Limit were looking at several variables, and the one thing is when do they stage the Nikita v Zarafa fight? Do they do it next and try and capitalise on some momentum, or do they perhaps match up Brock and Nikita first, if Brock kept winning, and then build the narrative for Zarafa down the track? So they were the two variables they were considering. I know there's a temptation to put in Zarafa next. That may now be the accelerated and expedited if Brock's no good. And we'll need to find out with his shoulder. But look, I hope Brock is the next fight for Nikita. I think Nikita's still building. Like, he's only young in his career, really. He's still somewhat in his formative stages. So I think Nikita needs more fights. I think it's a dangerous fight for Nikita right now. If Zarafa is his next opponent, it could be his first loss. I think Zerafa can beat Nikita Tszyu. Given his experience, like the 39 career fights, he's a serious fighter, Mick. He's got beautiful hand speed, and I think the best version of Zerafa now is better than Nikita's best right now. But I think Nikita's got more of a trajectory and he could potentially overtake Zerafa. But right now it's dangerous. I think Brock is the right fight next for Nikita, but he has to be healthy.
Yeah, it's almost like, what does Zerafa do in the interim, though? He can't sort of wait for Nikita to be ready, Where does Zerafa go if it's not Nikita Tszyu?
Well, I guess there's some middleweight fights even. I mean, he can jump between both divisions, 154 and 160 mix. So look, I mean, even Sam Beck was pretty honest in his last performance against Brock. I'm not saying I don't think he beats Zerafa, but if Zerafa wants to stay busy, fight domestically, Sam Beck is a pretty rangy opponent, pretty sizable, technically pretty sound. I think Nick Zerafa would get a better fight with Sam Beck than he did against Mickey Dahlman, which was a disaster. That was a debacle. So I think Mick and to credit to Zerafa too, he doesn't want the easy fights. I mean, that's the great mythology that Mick's estate, takes step aside money and won't take the real fighters. He'll fight anyone anytime, and he's prepared to have the better fighters. He wants international quality, and if he can't get that, maybe some domestic scrappers to keep him honest. But look, I think the other one, Macca, that we got to talk about today is Paulo Akuso.
Yes.
His fight against Ben Hussein, potentially. He was meant to fight a Uzbekistan guy, Abdullayev. He's had visa issues and can't make it here to Australia. So they're now, as we speak, Macca, they're deliberating the Ben Hussein camp with Akuso's camp to work out a potential catch weight. But that would be an absolute barn burner of a domestic fight. I think Ben Hussein, he can bang. He's a big boy for his weight. He could be a great fight for Akuso. It'd be a great matchup. I hope it happens.
Some devastating news over the weekend. Ricky Hatton, sad passing. The last opponent of Tszyu. What's your thoughts on that, and how do you reflect on the career of Ricky Hatton?
Yeah, heartbreaking for boxing fans worldwide and his family, of course. Our thoughts go out to his family. But interesting, Macca, I watched his documentary when we went to Vegas for Tim Tszyu's fight against Fundora. I watched it on the plane over, and he went through some demons, Ricky Hatton, didn't he? He had some mental demons, particularly later in his career. But some of his victories, I mean, what he did against Tszyu was one of the most emphatic performances I've ever seen. He was just so vicious, so hungry, so determined. And you always thought Tszyu, even in his later career, that his spirit and will couldn't be broken. But Ricky Hatton broke it because he just wanted it more. And I don't think if there's been a hungrier fighter, well, he's in the grand final, Ricky Hatton. He was a real bulldog, a wonderful fighter, and his legacy will live on forever, which is wonderful for boxing.
Massive fight on the weekend, Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford. Thoughts on the fight, and how good is Terence Crawford?
He's amazing. He's probably, he's pound for pound the legend, isn't he, right at the moment? I mean, I know there's obviously in a way the monster, but what a fighter. And I've got to say, the judges are a disgrace. That was embarrassing. I mean, I thought how you could have two judges split 5-5 going into the championship rounds was, for me, just bamboozling. I mean, I had Crawford winning the first 3 rounds. I gave it Crawford 9-3, possibly 8-4, but Canelo wasn't active enough. He didn't jab enough. Crawford's boxing IQ was superior. His ring control was better. His distance control was better. His eye was better. His precision was more exquisite. I just don't see how the judges could have even thought that was 7-5. I thought it was a comprehensive display. Crawford nearly got robbed. I'm glad he wasn't, because he was clearly the better fighter, and what a magnificent performance. And it goes to show too just how tough Jeff Horn was, because he went 9 rounds with Crawford and gave a good account of himself. He was sliced and diced and outclassed, but Crawford, it was so good to see him here in Australia a couple of months ago, because he is a generational talent and a brilliant talent, and let's hope he keeps fighting, because 42-0 now, he is an absolute superstar, icon, phenom. Not enough superlatives. What a fighter.
And we did see Jai Patara over there as well in Las Vegas. Talk of a fight for him back on home soil soon. Any news on that, ball?
I don't have any, but I like I said, Macca, I think it's time for Jai Patara to go up to heavyweight. I just think he's got to stop stuffing around at cruiserweight. Look, let's hope the Zurdo fight happens. I'd love to see a unification bout, because I think he beats Zurdo. But the time is now for Jai. He is. Have I got some fans back here?
It's got some hecklers.
Hey, look at them. I'm getting heckled.
Who wins?
I'm getting heckled. They want to put me in with Ken Aiken. First round knockout for Aiken. For Aiken, not me. No, look, I think Jai Pattaya, the time is now. I spoke to Eddie Hearn just a couple of weeks ago, and Eddie Hearn says, even he suggested it's time to go to heavyweight for Jai Pattaya, and I'd love to see him at heavyweight. I think he could do some real damage there. He's got all the skills, and he's got enough size to be competitive in that division.
Now, last one, we rarely go an interview without talking about Tim Tszyu. How important is it that no one talks about Tim Tszyu? You know, that he just has a break and sort of resets and recharges, and guys like Liam Paro can sort of make their claim.
It's a good question, and look, I hope, Macca, that Tim Tszyu's not forgotten at the moment. I mean, there's a bit of a feeling at the moment that the Tim Tszyu, the bubbles burst, that he's done and dusted, he's finished. I really hope he's not forgotten in this. Yes, Liam Paro's still got a lot of great fights ahead. He's on the rise. He's a pay-per-view star, and Liam Wilson's a very good fighter as well, as we know, two-time world challenger. But I hope that Tim Tszyu isn't forgotten totally, because there is more to come from him. Look, I'm not saying he potentially wins world titles again. We don't know if that ever happens. He's got a lot of mental demons to overcome, but he's recently returned from overseas. I'm told, I spoke to No Limit the other day, they're adamant he will fight again. There will be no retirement. And I think that's sound, because Tim Tszyu at age 30 has some good fights ahead of him. And he's got, look, I think if he rebuilds himself, if he learns some lessons from some of his technical execution in fights, he's not finished totally. I believe there's better wins ahead for Tim Tszyu. And look, is he the top 2, 3, 4 at 154? Maybe not. But it's no shame losing to Fundora, who is a genetic freak, a genetic specimen. And I still believe he could beat Xander Zayas. I have no doubt about that. So if Tim carefully and delicately manages his return, and No Limit do it with him, then he can get back to the world stage. Whether he wins a world title, we don't know, but I don't think we should forget Tim Tszyu, because he's very important in the boxing economy here.
Nice one. Thanks, Pete. Appreciate it.
Anytime, Macca.